So, this is a shoulder rig, but it's not the shoulder rig we're going to be talking about today. Also, that's kind of like a vent flap from my monitor. Port keys, I love your monitors. Can I get a new one? Now, here's the deal. So a couple of months ago, I made a video, this one right here, about a shoulder rig with a gimbal on it. And I did a really poor job at building it out and kind of showing it off in the video. So today I'm going to show you how to make that shoulder rig. And luckily, this is a fairly adaptable rig that you can use with multiple different kinds of cameras, not just the camera that I'm going to be using, a Canon R10, but you can, for the most part, use maybe a red. Anyways, this is going to be a full breakdown of the rig and how to build it, so we should get started. So at the base of this setup is the Tilta lightweight shoulder rig. I bought this for $288. Typically it ranges from typically it's about $340, and right now it's actually on sale. I don't know how long it's going to be on sale, but I picked this up for a couple specific reasons. One, it's the whole package. Now you can build a shoulder rig if you have just some rods and you buy some arms and a pad. So I bought this because it has a quick release system, it has a back brace, everything on here is extremely adjustable, and also it can take a pretty heavy load. It says lightweight, but that's because it's fairly lightweight, but you can rig this out very heavy. So that is the main reason why I got this. I will be using this for years to come, but the Tilta lightweight shoulder rig is the base of the whole thing. Next, on the back of it, I actually mounted to the plate this rod mount. So this will come into play because then I have rods. I have these 6-inch rods with another rod mount that I'll then put in the back here, and then I'll be able to mount more off of this. And to keep those 6-inch rods connected, what I would do is I would put them on this V-mount plate. Another thing that's kind of cool about this shoulder rig is that in the back it actually has rod mounts, but I didn't end up using them for this situation. I just mounted another one so it was a little higher up. You have to have a lot of weight in the back because there's going to be so much weight in the front, so it's kind of what it looks like. So the next step to building out this rig is probably one of the most boring parts. You need a plate like this. Now, luckily, the shoulder rig comes with this plate. Now let me show you how I actually mount this plate to the gimbal. Okay, so last year, Neewer actually released this product for the DJI gimbals, and it's basically a mount for this exact type of thing. So this actually attaches to your gimbal with the NATO rails on the sides, but the one caveat is that that does cut off all of the powered handles or anything you wanted to connect to the gimbal to use like a follow focus with the gimbal itself. There are workarounds to that, but I'm just going to show you what I did. But in this case, you would take the Neewer part, you would put it on your gimbal. Next, you would take your quick release plate, put it on the Arca Swiss side, and mount that to your gimbal. So after you put on the Neewer part and you put on the quick release plate, you would then put on your battery grip, and then you would slide that onto the shoulder rig. So now you have basically the heart of the rig built. Now one of the caveats is to actually calibrate this gimbal with the camera and everything on it. You're gonna have to take the gimbal back off to calibrate it once you've got it all balanced. But because of the quick release, it is fairly easy to take on and off. So right after you put the gimbal on the shoulder rig, there's one other Neewer part you'll need, and you can get it from Smallrig as well, but I got this one from Neewer. This is a cold shoe quick release V-mount plate. Now, this is very specific. This goes on the bottom of your DJI gimbal. So basically, on the bottom of where your camera sits, that plate, there is this cold shoe, and this is typically for the DJI transmission system that comes with the gimbal. However, you don't have to put it there, and it also fits this type of cold shoe mount. So what I've done is I bought this cold shoe mount and I put it on the bottom of that plate, and then I'll put a V-mount on the bottom of the gimbal. So now you have the V-mount plate at the bottom of your gimbal, and this V-mount that you're going to put on there is going to be the one that primarily powers your camera. Now, because the Neewer mount for the gimbal still has a NATO rail, I can also still utilize the DJI back handle as a top handle. So then moving on to the camera, what I did is I took my camera and I broke it down to just the camera, the lens, I had a cage on it, then I also put a Smallrig fan on it because my camera doesn't have a fan. Then I had a side handle, and I made this side handle, but you can buy a side handle for very affordable, like $20. Next, I took the DJI quick release plate and their 12mm rod. So to use the DJI follow focus, you have to use their rod. So I mounted this on the bottom of my camera, and then I put this on the DJI quick release plate, and then I took the whole camera and put it on the gimbal. At this point, you can start messing with all the cables. I have a dummy battery in my camera, so I have a DTAP adapter that actually needs to go into the V-mount. Along with, I have to actually plug in the follow focus to the follow focus motor. And I also need to plug in the gimbal to the camera so that I can still use some of the actual recording features with just the gimbal. At that point, what I'll do is I'll put on the other V-mount battery on the back of the shoulder rig. Now this one stands as, first of all, a battery to power the gimbal just in case it's running out of battery, but also any excess equipment that needs to go on the camera, like a behind the scenes video camera, like an action camera or anything else. And then I also am utilizing just one more battery. On the side here, I'll mount an MPF battery, but this mount has a USB-C out, a DC 12 volt out, and a DC 8.4 volt out. And this is what I'll use to primarily power my monitor. Now what's super cool about this shoulder rig is that on the arms it has some 1/4-20 mounts. So what I did is I took my Smallrig quick release magic arm and I mounted that to the left arm of my shoulder rig, and then what I'll do is I'll take that magic arm and I'll mount it to my monitor so I can have the monitor right in front of me when I'm filming. And then what I'll do is I'll run the power DC cable to the battery mount and I'll plug the HDMI into my camera. So now I have both power and image on the monitor. And the last thing I'll do to the monitor is I'll run the HDMI out back up to my DJI transmitter. And with the DJI transmitter, I can actually have the director or myself download the DJI app so that they can also see the image while I'm running around with the camera. And then really the last thing I'll do is I'll take the DJI stand that came with the gimbal, this tripod, this tripod right here. So what I'll do is, because this has a 1/4-20, is I'll actually screw this into the back of the shoulder rig, because not only is it just a little bit more weight, but it also is able to keep the V-mount in place, and it's also kind of another point of contact that you can kind of hold on to if you need to be able to hold the camera from different locations. And luckily with this rig, there's like 12 different spots you can hold the camera from. Okay, so I just spent like half an hour building out the rig, and it's right next to me. If you can see this, it is very large. And like I said, there's a lot of different handles here. You have these two, you can hold on to the arms, and then you can bring it down. You have the top handle, you can hold it under. You have the back handle. A lot of flexibility in this rig. Now the great thing about this rig is that it is, in a means, kind of accessible. It's kind of affordable. If you already have a gimbal and you already have a shoulder rig, all you need is this one Neewer part to really put it together, and then you can just go off from there. So this is all just, I took every part that I had available to me and I just tried to put it together in the best way I thought possible. And this setup might not be the best for everybody, but it works really well for the use case I used it for. And the bottom line is that none of it would have been possible if it hadn't been for the Neewer part. So I'm really emphasizing you have to get this Neewer part if you want to mount it to any type of thing in this orientation. But that is how I built this shoulder rig. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm going to have every single piece of this gear linked in the description below. I believe just about every part you can get off Amazon. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that it helped you. Now go off, build a gimbal shoulder rig, and have a nice day.